concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Livestream. Happy Monday night to you all. And I do say Monday night. It's Monday night here, and it's Monday night for you because this is the American Livestream. That's right, we do this one too late for all those poncy Europeans with their cheese and wine and socialized healthcare. They're all sleeping. They're all getting a good 8 hours sleep, you know. Probably government mandated. But we here, we are free. We're free to stay up late. We are free to get sick and free to get well, maybe. It's all up to us. We ain't got no bedtime. It's America. And I'm free. Oh no, license to drive is here. In the UK, quick, it's an English person. Take his tea, throw it in the harbor. Oh no, I forgot. It's 10 a.m. in Tuesday in Australia. It's 10 a.m. Tuesday in Australia. So we've got some, let's be honest. Australians aren't up at 10 a.m. Come on, unless they've been up from the night before, am I right? Oh, goodness gracious. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. Oh, Lucky FPV has finally made it to the live version of the live stream. Good to have you here, Lucky. Good to have you. Let me ask you this. You guys know, because I've made a big deal out of it, that I got a desk a while back, a new desk. And, you know, it was a good excuse to... I don't want this. So let me know if that light's on fire behind me. It was a good excuse to clean my desk. By clean, I mean throw it out, take it to the dump, and buy a new one. And, you know, now it's been a couple weeks, months. Still pretty clean, isn't it? Yeah. What's up, Bubby? What's up, Bubby? Bubby FPV is here. Bubby teased me by sharing a drift chasing video, and then I went to click on it, and it was not available. Thanks, Bubby. Thanks, man. It's 8 a.m. on the free side of Australia. Yeah. Oh, Quad Doc gets up for the 6 a.m. live stream in Oz sometimes. Woo! Takes a lot to get me out of bed at 6 in the morning, I'll tell you what. Super Deluxe thinks I could use a little more cable management. Super Deluxe, this is a surprising amount of cable management. There's a lot of cables, that's all I gotta say. There's a lot of cables back there. You can't really, there's a lot. There's only so much you can do. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to the live stream. It's apple juice, kids. Parents, tell your kids it's apple juice. Rain gutter under the desk. That's kind of what I have. You can't see this, Super Deluxe, but I just have some, like zip ties. I have some, basically a channel of loose zip ties that I've run them through because I didn't have one of the rain gutter thingies, whatever. So. Oh, how's the double extruder printer going? Asks Kaiser Soze. Kaiser, it's going pretty good. This is a print that came off of it. It's not the best print that ever came off a 3D printer, but it's not bad. Still got a little more work to do. You can see the blue around the edge here, but you see how there's no blue here? That means the two extruders are not quite aligned. And you can't, I'm going to have a hard time showing it to you on camera, but like right here on this side of this seam, you can see where the blue goes inside and there's a little bit of a gap, whereas on the other side of the seam, there's no gap. So I think my extruders are not quite aligned, but I did get a print out of it. I can finally review this printer. Yay! Oh, well, that is behind me. This printer, I have been working on reviewing it ever since it's been sitting behind me, and I've been having problems. It was weeks. Okay, it was weeks worth of problems because I got fed up with it and I just did other things for like 2 weeks. And then when they finally came back to me with suggestions, I was like, okay, I'll give this a try. It turned out to be a clogged nozzle, which was making problems. It wasn't printing right. Eventually I will review it, and then it will not be on the bench behind me, and I'll have the rest of my bench back, so that'll be nice. Filmic FPV had the stream set up with a reminder since this morning. Holy cow. Thank you so much. Oh, this is classic. Post on the Discord. Classic post on the Discord of JB doing it's a tiny GIF of JB doing a presentation at New York City Drone Film Festival about PIDs. Yeah, that was back when I wore suspenders. So, take that for what you will. Oh, how far I've come. Some would say how far I've fallen. If you can believe it, at the time, I did a presentation about how a PID controller works, how PID and set point works. And that punk Chris Rosser comes out with a video about how the PID controller works, and I'm like, I made that video years ago! It was like, Chris Rosser, nice job. How come nobody ever says that? Oh, wait, they do. Oh, the Discord is... Oh, you Discorders. Goodness gracious. Oh, welcome to the live stream, everybody. Here's what's going on. I'm going to be watching your questions in the chat here. Grass Wizard asking about our film. Oh, yeah, hang on. I'll get to that. I'll be taking your questions here in the chat. And if you want to make sure that I see your question, hit the $sign right down here at the bottom. Hit the $sign and leave a super chat. We've already got like 5 or 6 super chats. Wow, some big ones too. We'll be getting to those in just a minute. Just a few minutes, really. Hey, sit tight, guys. Stick around. I don't like to dive right into the super chats because I feel, I like to let the, I just like to hang with the little people, the plebs, for a while. And also, hello to these beautiful people. These are my patrons. These are my patrons. And they're over on my Discord server. And if you want to join them, you can join my Patreon, patreon.com. I have a link in the video description to my Patreon page. It's a service where you can sign up to support me for as little as $2 a month, or more if you feel like I've earned it. That's what I like to say. Whatever you feel like I've earned. And as a benefit, as a side benefit, you get to hang out with all these beautiful, beautiful sausages over in the Discord server. Some of the most helpful people in FPV. More helpful than me? Let's not go there. Rindos 3 Days says, JB, I learned the hard way. Always test new batteries for bad cells before flying. I took a new one off the charger straight to the quad and had a bad cell. Browned out and crashed hard on the first roll. Oof. I mean, was it? I guess it was fully charged. It still read 4.2 volts per cell, huh? Good. I'm glad you, I mean, how would you have checked it? Either the voltage was okay in the OSD, in which case it would have been okay on your battery checker, or the voltage wasn't okay in the OSD, in which case you missed it, and that would be the answer. Can somebody, hey, somebody out there, no, that's impossible. Never mind. I'm not going to ask that. Brandon Beersheld wants to know, Beerscheid. Braden. I'll get there. Braden Beerscheid. There we go. Asks, when is the inflation of drone equipment going to drop? I want to get into FPV, but it's so dang pricey. Here's the thing, Braden. It is pricier than it was. But it's still in the same, like, ballpark. Like, you can still get a frame for $40 or $50. A flight controller for $50 or $60. You can. It's not going to be quite as good quality or quite as high a performance. There's always been $14 or $20 motors. It would be an interesting challenge. Maybe that'd be a good video. Can you build a $100, like, $100 used to be like the benchmark for the absolute budget of an FPV drone, and UAV Futures famously did his $100 builds, and they left a lot to be desired. Don't get me wrong, but for $100, they were pretty good value. For $100, I wonder if today, like, what's the cheapest you could build a quadcopter if you just set out to save as much money as possible? What would you end up with? I'll bet you can still build a quadcopter for $100, $150. Goggles. Yashin EV800D. What are they going for? That's like my go-to for entry-level goggles. $100. Yashin EV800D. $100. I used to be closer to 75 or 80. They haven't gone up that much. Now controllers. Radiomaster TX16S. Radiomaster TX. Now that's gone up $200 for the base Radiomaster. It used to be about $130, $140. So the thing is, what I'm getting at here is, I would argue that if you're trying to get into FPV, you still can do it at a similar price point to what you could have done a year or 2 years ago. Many things are twice as expensive as they used to be, but enough things are only 10 or 20% more expensive that it's still doable. And I think you can still do it now. But your question was, when is the inflation going to go down? And the answer, no one knows. No one knows, and I don't know. Part of the reason that prices, the thing is, inflation is, and I'm not an economist, and I'm not a political expert. So I'm gonna just try to make the most basic observations I can. everything, lots of things, let's not say everything, but let's say lots of things all around the world are more expensive than they were a year or 2 years ago. And I would like to try to keep this a nice place for everyone to be by not putting in the comments why you think that is. And especially, please don't name which politicians you blame for this happening or whether you think it's all a hoax. Let's just not. Let's just acknowledge that for some reason that isn't really relevant to the discussion we're having right now, things are more expensive. And it's not just FPV, is my point. So when will FPV be less expensive? Don't know. When everything else is less expensive too. We've got the semiconductor shortage. We've got the shipping. Container shipping is way more expensive than it was for whatever reason. There's all kinds of things going on. And yeah, Anthony King, you're fired. I frickin' told you. I could not have been more clear. Anthony King, I could not have been more clear that I don't want you to do that. You frickin' bozo. You frickin' bozo. I could not have been more clear. Could not have been more clear. Oh, you're so clever. Oh, with your little code words. No one knows what you really mean. Except everybody knows what you mean. You're not being clever. You're just... Oh. Anyway. Oh, you know what? I'm just trying to keep it nice and friendly by shouting at you. All right, anyway. Okay, so anyway, things are more expensive. We don't know when they're going to get less expensive. But it's not just FPV is my point. Yeah. The thing is, like, things usually get more expensive quicker than they get cheaper. So as the semiconductor shortage, people have been saying the end of 2022 is the sort of, let's see if that's the light at the end of the tunnel for the semiconductor shortage. And no, there's not a promise. And I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about people in the industry, people in the semiconductor industry, people, they're saying end of 2022 is like maybe when it'll be over. So, I mean, I feel like if I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet that prices would come down until 2023. So, we shall see. We shall see. Now, Cozy FPV, that's an interesting claim, which I will slightly risk inciting more political commentary, which I really don't want to see. But Cozy FPV thinks it has something. I've heard the argument that it has to do with the declining value of the dollar. But if that were true, then it would only be more expensive in the USA, and I don't think that's happening. I think that inflation is occurring in a lot of countries around the world, and so I'm not sure how the declining value of the dollar would cause that. But like I said, I'm not an economist, so anyway. Let's move on. Let's move on. Oh, UAV Tech is here. Hey, Mark Spatz, UAV Tech. Guess what? I know you've been waiting. I know you've been waiting to hear when this was going to happen. I'm finally tired of waiting for Betaflight 4.3 to release. So normally I do not mess around with pre-release versions of Betaflight unless there's a very compelling reason. Because, number one, I'm super busy making all the content that I'm already making. So if I just spend time screwing around with a pre-release thing, I can't make content about it because most of the time I don't like to make content about pre-release stuff because then when it releases, it's out of date and I have to make corrections and stuff. So, but I'm finally tired of waiting. I'm going to put Betaflight 4.3 on this quad. That's it. I'm tired of waiting. I want to find out what all the hype is about. So we're going to give it a try. Betaflight 4.3. I've heard so many good things about it. We shall see. It's good. I've heard it's good. We'll do a video about it. Run Puppy FPV wants me to do a tutorial. I probably will. I just put these freaking gorgeous Imperial motors on this quad. This had the old Emerald motors, the old ones that had the manufacturing problem. And Bob got these Imperials back in stock, and I put them on, and these are like the motors. They're so good. They're such good motors. In fact, I just ordered a set of the 16mm motors for a Toothpick 3 and a set of the 21mm motors for my 4-inch shocker. We're just going to see. We're going to just put FPV cycle motors on all my quads. And we'll see how it goes. B-Man FPV in the Discord asks, on my Mobilite 6, one motor would just twitch and somehow one motor wire would desolder itself. No. Hang on. B-Man FPV. Okay. There shouldn't be any way that your ESC could make your motor wire desolder itself. If that's happening, number one, the first guess would be that your solder joint was crap. Okay, now we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt, B-Man FPV, and we're going to say that your solder joint was good. But if you have a crap solder joint, then it'll have high resistance, it'll build up heat, and it'll come off. But if it's actually getting so hot that it's like flowing the whole joint, my God. It's got to be short-circuiting, right? It's pushing current through that wire, but then why would it not smoke the motor? It would have to smoke the motor. It feels like a bad ESC. It feels like a bad ESC. It's got a blown FET, and it's short-circuiting through that connection. But why is that connection high resistance enough that it's building up heat and desoldering the joint? That's the part I don't get. If you put a dead short through a motor phase because an ESC has a bad FET, the motor windings will smoke, the motor will smoke, but the solder joints should be such low resistance that they don't build up any heat, would be my guess. I don't see why it's building up enough heat. I would think that the ESC has a defective pad, and when it pushes current, then it builds up heat and desolders. But you're saying that you don't even throttle up. As soon as you plug in, it would happen. I mean, I would trash the flight controller / ESC. For sure. A short in the motor wiring, again, that would normally smoke the motor. It wouldn't cause the pad to desolder itself. Yeah. Bubby FPV wants to know if I want to see some drift car footage. I did, Bubby. I tried to click on your video, but it was not available. Cannon Hughes asks, if I get a GPS lock on my long range before arming, does that guarantee my quad will be saved in a failsafe? No. Betaflight GPS Rescue is... the problem with Betaflight GPS Rescue is that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and it is difficult to anticipate whether it's going to work or not. So, like, for example, Betaflight GPS Rescue will not work if you are within 100 meters of your home position. Why? Well, Betaflight doesn't use a compass. It doesn't require a compass. And since it doesn't require a compass, the quadcopter has to rely on GPS heading to know which direction it's moving and which direction it's facing. And that means that it has to start moving before it knows what direction it's facing. And that means that, like, there's just there's a time when it's moving and it may not be moving the direction it thinks it's moving. And they don't want to risk that they, like, fly into your face. So it won't rescue unless you're more than 100 meters from the home position, which some would say is dumb. You activate GPS rescue and just... Then what happens when you activate GPS rescue and this sanity check fails? It just falls out of the air and disarms. Oh, you mean it doesn't like... I don't know. It just disarms, yeah. But the problem that I've always had with Betaflight GPS rescue is that it doesn't give you any warning that GPS rescue is going to fail. If you activate GPS rescue within 100 meters of your home position, at no point will you be told, hey, buddy, if you activate GPS rescue right now, I'm going to drop right out of the frickin' air. Oh, no, it's not going to work. Oh, no. And it also, after it happens, it doesn't say, hey, by the way, the reason I dropped out of the sky was because you were within 100 meters of your home position. Just thought you might want to know for the future. It just falls out of the sky and you're like, why? And then you have to just guess. Well, okay, I was more than 100 meters from home position. I'm sure of that. I had 14 satellites. Okay, so that's not it. I don't know. No, with Betaflight, you cannot in any way be guaranteed that it's going to come home. Just can't. Alrighty, let's get some super chats out of the way. Spook FPV, thank you for 200 Norwegian kroner. Wish I could stay up for the stream, but it's too late. Have a good one. Yeah, get out of here, you European. You Scandinavian. Stream is not for you. It's the American stream. All you Europeans staying up late. All right. For the record, GPS rescue, GPS return to home, like on iNav or on DJI or on RGPilot, is reliable. It's not that it can't be done. It's that the Betaflight devs are not that interested in doing it because they're focused on acro and freestyle flying. Fair enough. Big Data Pimp says you can make the minimum distance for GPS rescue any distance. I don't think that's true. I think the minimum is 50 meters, but let's find out. I mean, you can change it. I think the minimum is 50 meters. What we'll do is we will connect to this here flight controller. What version are we on? We're on Betaflight 429. GPS min distance to home. Is that it? Yeah. The minimum is 50. The maximum is 1,000. There you go. Dan636, thank you for a $5 super chat. Can a bad motor cause runaways? Can it also pull enough power to reset the flight controller? Dan, when you say runaways, I'm going to assume that you mean the quad is like flying to the moon. I mean, I can't rule anything out. Normally, a bad motor would result in a death roll. Not fly to the moon. You could probably come up with some scenario where the bad motor caused so much vibration that it made the flight controller flip out and try to fly to the moon. But I think it's a stretch. That would not normally be how a bad motor manifested. Could it pull enough power to reset the flight controller? Absolutely. That's more plausible. I have seen situations where a bad motor, it surges, like you slap a tree or you slap the ground and the motors surge and then the whole flight controller power cycles. It shouldn't happen. It usually means your 5-volt regulator is not really happy, but it can happen. Aber the Ham, that parameter we were looking at is the minimum return to home distance. You must be at least this far from home before Betaflight will try to do a return to home. So the 1,000 meter maximum means that the maximum radius within which Betaflight will refuse to return to home is 1 kilometer. Justin Rice, thank you for a $10 super chat. I just sent you an email about my Maytech F722 HD. Is there a way I can remap the other 8-pin connector? If so, would that solve the power issues that I'm having? Well, Justin Rice, let's look at your email just to make sure I've got the whole picture. Justin Rice. Justin Rice. Okay. All right. Wrong. Maybe that's the wrong email account. In chat tonight, I recently crashed my Banggood 5 and I've troubleshot my problem down to my flight controller, which is a Maytech F722 HD. For some reason, it's not connecting what I think is power from the ESC to the flight controller. If I connect my flight controller with battery, it beeps 3 times, no lights on my flight controller or the air unit. If I plug my battery in and my flight controller via USB, it does all 5 beeps, but no power to the air unit. I swapped the flight controller with a spare F7 and everything works. So the 5-volt regulator on your flight controller died. So your flight controller won't power up except when you plug into USB, and USB provides the 5-volt itself. The question is not related to the 8-pin connector. You also cannot resource remap power. You can resource remap data and signal, but not power. So, Justin, the 5-volt regulator on your flight controller died in the crash. Most people would replace the flight controller at this point. However, if you have a 5-volt regulator, like just a little 5-volt regulator, like a Pololu or something, you can solder the output of the 5-volt regulator to the 5-volt pad on your flight controller, and it may power it up, and you may be able to keep using it. TriPilot has a great question, and I'm going to leave it to the people in the chat, but I'm going to call out Triprot's question. Triprot. I can't read names today. Triprot says, I think I have a Rubik's Cube down pat. What's the next trick to learn after that? What trick should somebody learn after a Rubik's Cube? Let's see. If you do you have a trippy spin? I mean, trippy spin is a bread and butter trick. It's a little more advanced, but if you can Rubik's Cube, you probably can trippy spin. Matty flip. Can you Matty? Yeah, get a good Matty. Yeah. Rubik's Cube is actually not like, how am I going to put this? Like, Rubik's Cube is a trick where you're learning the muscle memory to do the, right? But at the end of the day, Rubik's Cube is not like a terribly technical trick in terms of like trippy spin. I struggle with trippy spins, like to this day, despite the best instruction of guys like Ghost Branch FPV who try to teach me how to do it. We had a live stream we did over on Ghost Branch's channel, where he worked on trippy spins with me. I just struggle to do it in real life. Like if you give me a flagpole, I could do it. But like the guys you see, like Bubby, who's in the chat right now, who will just fly up to something and just kind of go whoop, whoop, trippy spin around it and go, and really work it into a line. Like my trippy spins are like, okay, here we go. Trippy spinning, we're trippy spinning. I can't spin all the way around because I'm like, and then I'm out. I'm like, that was pretty lame. This doesn't look real good. A Rubik's Cube, at the end of the day, most people don't do Rubik's Cubes proximity. Maybe that's one of the reasons they're easier. But you just do, and then you're out. Just have to learn to get the muscle memory correct and get the timing right. Trippy spins are hard. Like, they just make your brain go, blah. So if you've just learned Rubik's Cube, trippy spin may be a little too hard for you. Practice in a simulator. Juicy Flick is a good one. Yeah. Matty Flip is a good one. Matty Flip is also not a technically difficult trick in terms of what you're doing with the quad. All you're doing with a Matty Flip is flipping forward and then just, flying backwards. Matty Flip is challenging because it challenges your spatial awareness of where you are, what your angle is, and how you're moving. It's a mostly blind trick, unless you're doing Matty Flips like underneath an obstacle that you can see and get a sight reference. Do you guys remember the video? Do you guys remember the very first Matty Flip video? I wish I could find it again. If one of you finds it and puts a link in the Discord or in the chat, I would love to watch it. It was the video where Maddie did the Maddie flip at the end. But then at the end of the video was like a behind the scenes of him learning the trick. I'd love to rewatch that because at the time it was so mind-blowing. I wonder what it would look like today. Inverted yaw spin. Now that's a good answer to this question. Because if you've got a Rubik's Cube, then you're already working on being inverted and sort of doing things. Inverted yaw spin, like a Rubik's Cube, you go inverted, you do something, and you got to get back turned over again before you crash. But unlike a Rubik's Cube where it's just like pop, 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 and then you're out, an inverted yaw spin, you're like, you got to turn over. Maybe inverted yaw spin is the next one to work. I'm still looking for a link to that old Maddie video. How would you even find that? Maddie flip with Maddie stunts. See, there's lots of examples of Maddie or people doing Maddie flips. Maddie stunts. That's it. Maddie stunts. I mean, I don't even know how you would find. Oh, Maddie. 1 year ago, he did a bunch of sim sessions. Interesting. Like, it was a tree video for sure. Oh, my goodness. I mean, he doesn't have that many damn videos. Six years ago. Oh, my goodness gracious. No. Okay, desktop is muted. We don't need any. 6 years ago, kids. Maddie stunts. This was it. Yep. Alrighty. This was Maddie before he was Maddie. Nope. He's starting to get it already. 2015. Here he is working the trees. Ooh, he's good. Even that, do you see that? That snap was so on. Oh, look at that split S. Wow. Oh, his timing on those rolls is still pretty good. Golly. FPV Freestyle. Let's see. Pushing the limits. I'm looking at the end. This is when he was starting to actually, like, be a pilot. Oh my God. Yeah. There you go. It's so fun to see a pilot as skilled as Maddie looking hesitant and you know, watching him sort of struggle. I mean, worth keeping in mind that the equipment he's flying is so much worse than the equipment that we have today. So some of that hesitancy and uncertainty is just how bad his gear is. I mean, his gear was great for the day, but this isn't the one, though. Oh, hang on. Is this the one? Did I find it? This is it. I found it. Learning the trick. This is the first time the world saw a Maddie flip. Hang on, I got to see if there's music, because if there's music, we can't. There's music. So I'm not going to broadcast music, unfortunately. This is the first Maddie flip. Let's back up and let's really like get into it. Where was it? I don't know where it was. Maybe we'll watch a little bit of it. You can see how shaky this quad is. And what you can't see is how much latency there is. Look at that. You see that prop wash? Oh, that was good. That was good. That's not a Matty flip right there. He flips over. Oh, now we've gone somewhere else. He's doing various... Oh, yeah, nice. Let's slow-mo that. I don't want to see the playground. There's a little yaw spin, inverted yaw spin. It feels like he's got that big up tilt here. The way his pitch and his roll look when he... Oh, here we go. Is this it? No. Where is it? I don't want to miss it. Was it at the end of the video? I mean, surely you would put it at the end of the video, right? He was a racer before he was a freestyle pilot, so he flying here very much like a racer. Ooh, flying over that pond. Risky. Where is... Come on. Come on, give it to us. Just zipping around. Not really doing any tricks. Here, is this it? This is it. Oh my God. That's it. That was it. That was the first Matty flip. And so many people could not understand. They just thought he had done it backwards and reversed the footage. They thought he had reversed the footage. They were sure that this was like a lie. No one could comprehend what he had done there. I mean, I'm sure some people could. I'm exaggerating a little. So much so that he put a behind the scenes here.
Try to use snap a bit.
So many of us can identify with that experience. Nope, that wasn't it. Look at this quad. Look at this quad. Look at these props. Oh my God. Look at this thing. My God. He's trying to dry it off. Look at that quad. My God. Got that tape on the arms. Am I right, boys? He has to explain what he was doing, so he's trying to get a site reference. You want to learn how to Matty? Here you go. Mad Max FPV, bullnose bi-blades. There you go. Nope, nope, he didn't do the exit. I think we can all identify with this. Trying to learn Matties, where you're over rotating and you're coming out of it too soon and stopping your flow. Matty was going through the same thing. Oh, there it is. Oh my God, it's been so long since I watched that. Just goes to show how much of a discipline is mental. That once Matty figured out how to do it, everybody else was like, oh, that's a thing you can do. And then they just figured it out, and now it's just a thing. You know, kids with 12 hours of flight time can Matty flip, you know? Anyway, amazing. Amazing. Is the trippy spin his as well? That's a high up tilt trick. I wonder if the trippy spin is also his. Matty stunts. Alrighty. Getting back to the super chats. Thank you for that little diversion. Appreciate you guys coming along with me. Tony Horn, thanks for a $5 super chat. I just purchased a second set of DJI V2 goggles to give ride-alongs, but I can't figure out how to make audience mode work. Thanks for your help. Tony, the first question that we have to answer is, are you talking about the DJI FPV drone or the air unit and the Vista? If you're talking about the air unit and the Vista, all you have to do is put it in audience mode and then pick a channel. And if someone else is on that channel, you'll see their signal. Now, bear in mind, audience mode does not work if you have 50 megabit per second turned on. You have to be in 25 megabit per second for audience mode to work. And it's annoying that DJI will not let you change from 50 to 25 unless you are currently bound to a device. So let's imagine that you're done flying for the day. Maybe you broke all your quads, whatever. Or maybe you just showed up at an event, you got your goggles with you, but you don't have any quads with you. Your goggles were last bound in 50 megabit per second mode, and you want to spectate somebody. You can't change it. Super annoying. You would need to bind it to a quad, change it, and then they would rebind or something. So if you can't get audience mode to work, you could be in 50 megabit per second mode. Then you won't even be able to try to use it. Assuming you're in 25 megabit per second mode, just go down to audience in the menu and pick a channel and boom, it pops up. Now, the DJI FPV drone works differently. With the DJI FPV drone, I actually haven't tested this, so some of this could be wrong, but I think that the goggles broadcast and so the person flying has to turn their goggles on to broadcast this, and then the other person turns on and picks it up. But I assume you're talking about audience mode for the DJI, like the Air unit and the Vista, and that's what I have to tell you about that. C Young 300, thank you for a $10 super chat. Also cannot figure out audience mode. I can't even select it in the menu. That's because you're in 50 megabit per second. C Young, that's the answer. You need to be on 25. Mike Speedy FPV, thank you for 40 pounds. I would love the hack for the Caddx Vista. Mike, Mike and I were just on the phone this afternoon. The FCC hack. Now, Mike, I assume that you are in the USA and not in Europe, because this FCC hack is not legal. You're breaking the rules. What I would suggest is this video from our good friend Mads Tech, an incredible resource for things related to DJI. And Mike, I'm going to give you that link, and I don't think anybody can explain it better than Mike. Oh, Mads Tech has pinned my comment. Well, I hope that is all relevant. Yeah. So anyway, that's how you can do that, Mike. Trekkin FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. I've been having really bad reception with my SkyZone Sky04X white flashes, desaturation, colors, and tearing, much worse than my Sky02C. I'm just gonna have to take a guess. When you say white, it feels like you have a bad module. Like the Sky04X should have better performance than the Sky02C. So rather than you could have a bad antenna, maybe. You could just check that by swapping the antenna with the other goggles. But yeah, if you have really bad reception like that, then it feels like you might have a bad module and you might need to go back to SkyZone to get them to take care of you. Maybe replace the module. You could also just buy a new module. The performance should be better than that, Trek and FPV. Brandon Holt, thank you for a $5 super chat. What modes do you personally set up on all your quads, and how many aux channels do you personally use for those modes? That's a great question, Brandon Holt. So actually, I have a quad right here. Ooh, isn't that convenient? So I can actually show you, Brandon. Let me just get get Betaflight started up here. So this is my Freestyle rig. Here is my modes tab, and these are the modes I typically set up: arm, angle, beeper, and turtle mode. That's basically on all my quads. And I don't use angle mode that much, but on Tiny Whoops I use it. So I put it there just so for muscle memory purposes, it's always in the same place. The other thing you're going to see is that they are all on aux 1. They're all on aux 1. And if you want to know more about how I do that, I have a video about all aux modes on one channel. New improved method works with any transmitter. That is the video that you should check out that teaches you how to do that. What about my rates? Run Puppy wants to know. Run Puppy, I'm still on the same rates that I've been using forever. 127.072.040, except for yaw. I actually really liked the feel of the rates on the iFlight Evoke, and maybe I'm going to start playing with different rates. But for now, this is where I'm at for freestyle. Now, for racing, I use the 533 rates. Except I add a little bit of expo because I need more softness in the center because I'm an old guy. I don't have those young gun reflexes. Joseph Kehoe, we've got a ton of more super chats coming in, so I apologize that I'm not taking as many messages from the YouTube chat, but I definitely don't want to get too far behind on super chats. Joseph Kehoe, thank you for a $20 super chat. I just got the Mobula 7 V2, and I'm trying to bind it to the Tyrannus QX7. Receiver is set to SPI. The provider is FreeSky X, and I've tried FreeSky D. Both are a no-go. So here's the problem you're running into, Joseph Kehoe. Joseph, you've got the Tyrannus QX7. Now, the older ACCST version of the QX7 can run D8 and D16 protocol. FreeSky X in Betaflight is D16. FreeSky D in Betaflight is D8 protocol. FreeSky X and D16, which are the same thing, come in different firmware versions. And firmware 2.x and newer are not compatible with firmware before 2.x. So, if your QX7 is on firmware ACCST 2.1, it will not bind to FreeSky X in Betaflight because the FreeSky X is the older firmware. You following me? If you have now, the normal workaround would be to put the Mobula 7 on FreeSky D and the Tyrannus QX7 on D8 protocol, and then they will bind. However, if you have the newer Access QX7 with the Access protocol, then it doesn't support D8. And all of that stuff that I just said, that you certainly 100% retained and comprehended, all of that stuff is why FreeSky is a gigantic pain in the ass. Oh, it's not their fault. They had good reasons for doing what they did. Don't you understand how they got where they are? Yep. Don't care. It's a gigantic pain in the ass. So, what you could do is you can email me. Everyone, you're always welcome to email me with questions. I spend several hours a day trying to empty my inbox and answer questions from people, and I'll be happy to dig into it a little further with you over email because I'm going to bet that some of that got lost in the communication. Remy Tim, thank you for a $5 super chat. Remy Tim says, thanks for your content, especially the podcast feed of these streams. Even if it's too late for me to catch it live, I can listen later. That is true. So I post these as a podcast. If people said, why don't you podcast your live streams? Actually, I do. So Patreon has a feature where when you follow a patron, they can create a podcast stream for the patrons. If we look, you can see I've posted audio feeds of all my live streams. So if you're looking to get a podcast from me, that is how you can do it. It's just this same content again. So speaking of just watching this same content again, I'll also have a live stream clips channel that you might be interested in. I saw all the big streamers were doing a live stream channel. And I went ahead and made one. And if you're interested in, if you can't always catch up with my live streams, Here's my live stream clips channel. And I'd love to have your subscription over there. Here, I'll put the... What are we up to? 762 subscribers. Come on! Let's get us over 1,000. Athix, is it better to email you or is Discord fine? Still having issues with canvas mode. Athix, the easiest way to have a conversation that I'll come back to is email. In Discord, it's a little easier to get lost in the inbox, but either is fine. Yeah. Yeah. Static Motion, thanks for a $5 super chat. Why would my frame start to smoke where it connects to the bottom part of the frame where I attach the Vista camera to support part of the frame? Static Motion, if your frame has started to smoke, it's because you have current flowing through the frame and the frame is not a good conductor. It's conductive enough that current will flow and it will smoke, but it's not conductive enough to avoid heat buildup. So how is VBAT? You have a VBAT wire that is touching the frame, or maybe it's a motor wire or a motor pin, or maybe your motor screws are touching your motor windings. There is somewhere that voltage is getting to the frame, and then it's grounding out through the camera case, and that's where it's smoking. That's my guess as to what's happening. So you got to check your wiring and check your motor screws and check your ESCs. Somewhere something is making contact with the frame that is putting battery voltage on the frame. Harry Props FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. What does it mean when my startup tones are out of sync? I get all the beeps, but a couple motors lag behind. Thanks for all you do. If your startup tones are out of sync, what it means is, usually it means you're using bidirectional D-shot. When you're using bidirectional D-shot, the ESC is more conservative. When an ESC starts up, it checks the signal that it's getting from the flight controller, and it kind of sanity checks it. Because the ESC doesn't want to get in a situation where the ESC goes full throttle, and it's like, hey, everybody, we're going full throttle! And really, that's not what's happening. The flight controller is like, no, stop, disarm. So the ESC checks the signal it's getting from the flight controller, and it kind of sanity checks it. And if everything checks out, then the ESC initializes, and you hear the tones. When you're using bidirectional D-shot, there's more potential for things to go wrong because bidirectional is more complicated. And so the ESC is more conservative, and basically the startup tones will more often be delayed or out of sync if you're using bidirectional D-shot. Now, what can you do about that? Number one, you can stop using bidirectional D-shot. Oh, okay, I guess. You probably don't want to do that though, right? You want to use it. The other thing you can do is drop down from D-shot 600 to D-shot 300, or God forbid, 300 to 150. And that will sort of stabilize the signal so that they'll be more likely to start up in sync. All right. Dave Brewer, thank you for 15 Canadian dollars. What's your recommendation for motor and battery pack for runtime and power on a 5-inch Freestyle quad? My recommendations, if only, you guys see it coming? If only there was a website where someone had made a recommendation for 5-inch Freestyle drone parts. Like this one. My website. Dave Brewer. There you go, buddy. So for motors, like, oh, we should get this picture updated. That's the Emerald. Okay, hang on. Let's take care of that real quick. Ah, why am I not logged in? Damn it. Oh my God, Athix. That's bringing back some memories. This is a Holy Bro. Is this a Copus? This was one of the very first, I think this was the second Holy Bro quad that I reviewed. It was, oh my God. Wow, that's been a long time. Not the Copus. What the frick? Oh, anyway. I should... It doesn't matter. Come on. Okay. Okay. All right. Got that taken care of. The Shuriken 180. There we go. That's it. The Shuriken. Is that review still up? Oh my goodness gracious. Of the Holybro Shuriken's flight characteristics. We're going to start with me flying the stock PIDs and rates with no tuning at all. And I'm trying to do kind of the same maneuvers I normally do during my acro flying so you can get a sense of it. The initial Look how rates wobbly are a it little is. bit lower than I usually fly. I think they're a good choice for ready to fly because not everybody is ready to handle the higher rates. The stock PIDs have been tuned. They're not the defaults, but I still think they have some room for improvement. And I'll point out to you what I think are the sort of deficiencies in the tune. No when I see buildings them in the there. field. One of the things that I notice is a sort of a hitching or stuttering in. I see right there where the nose came up a little.
I saw it.
Hitching, stuttering in turns.
Wow, look how crappy
like
the
sweeping
no
turns.
rapid fire back in
Instead
the
of a
day.
nice smooth turn, it'll kind of the nose will kind of bobble a little. Here, watch here. Maybe it'll happen. Well, that one wasn't too bad. And of course, prop wash, the hardest thing to get rid of course.
Oh yeah.
Just keep watching the flight and see if anything
Just
else
one
jumps
tree
out.
there instead of a whole bunch of trees.
And
Have I
if you go
slowed
back
this
and
down?
watch this video
I
or
think
this section of the video again and watch the sort of sweeping turns and watch
Anyway. Oh my goodness gracious. Did I do a Oh. Anyway. Oh, real trip down memory lane. Super Deluxe says my audio has improved a ton. I thought the audio, that one wasn't too bad. All right, now, Dave Brewer, you wanted... I'm not just going to throw you at my website, Dave Brewer. You wanted a recommendation for a motor and battery pack for runtime and power. Dave, if your focus is on... You ask for runtime and power, and you kind of can't have both of those things at the same time. If you're going to have long runtime, you're going to give up power. Generally, you don't get both of those at the same time. That's like saying, what car would you recommend for acceleration and fuel efficiency? Now, some things are better than others. Like there are cars that have both performance and better fuel efficiency, but ultimately, long runtime and power are going to be sort of competitive with each other. On a 5-inch Freestyle quad, my like favorite motor at this exact moment is the FPV Cycle 25mm motor. It's I don't know what Bob has got going on in this motor, but it's a really, really good motor. If you don't push it too hard, it will have decent efficiency. If you do push it hard, it will go hard. And you can extend your runtime by using lower pitch props. So that's something. Cohiba Matt asks, how come the Discord is read-only for patrons? Cohiba Matt, you have to, once you join the Discord server, you have to go to the Patrons Welcome channel, and there are instructions about how to link your Patreon and your Discord accounts, and that will get you access to all the channels. Epicness asks, is there a way to make a drone be more stable? In other words, to make it stop drifting around in the wind? Epicness, I mean, you can get a drone like a DJI drone or an iNav drone or a Arduino drone with GPS and compass and stuff, and then it'll stabilize. If it doesn't have automatic like GPS-based stabilization, then you just have to fly it. Pixel Pusher wants to know, can you use any PDB with KISS individual ESCs?
Sure, Pixel Purser. All a PDB does is push voltage and ground out to the ESCs. I mean, that at its heart is what it does. But the KISS ESCs will also have the telemetry wire, but you could always just connect that directly to the flight controller. Crabtree thinks he's got great efficiency. That's the thing. The FPV Cycle 25mm motors, they're big motors compared to the 2306 or 2207s that are most common. But if you don't go hard, if you don't just ham on the throttle, they're actually not too bad for flight time. So I don't know what's going on there. Everybody is saying that I have to check out Bubby's new video. Apparently Bubby's new video is up. Oh, here it is right here. Number 2 in the suggested. So there's probably going to be music, isn't there? Let's see if there's music. Sorry, guys. Yeah, there is. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. I know it's annoying, but I just do not want to get copy struck or get my, videos copyrighted by playing people's music. So you could definitely go check out Bubby's video on his channel. However, since it's only 3 minutes, let's check it out. I can hear the music. Oh, he's got some Foley audio here. Is that the actual audio? Oh, nice move. I can't tell if that's the actual audio. I can hear the quad motors, so I guess it is. He's getting in there, boy. He's getting in there. Not bad. Not bad. Oh, let it breathe a little. Let it breathe a little. Oh, I love that. That's really the mark of a good FPV pilot. If you're going to chase cars, you're going to reach a point where you lose the car, it goes out of frame, or you just run out of video or you've run out of battery. So the key is to be able to break away and end the shot in an intentional way. A lot of times you just cut away and that's the end of the shot. But watch what Bubby does here. Here, the car goes. He's decided that the shot has ended. Now, maybe he did that on purpose, or maybe he screwed up. Like, I don't know, even a pro like Bubby makes a mistake. Like, maybe he just accidentally lost the shot. Don't know. Doesn't matter. There goes the car, and instead of jerking to get back online or whatever, or instead of just being like, okay, we're going home now, he just flies out of the shot, flies straight for a minute, and ends the shot. It's a really, really, Johnny FPV he'll just fly straight up in the air and kind of just get a horizon shot. And it's an intentional way of ending the shot when you can't follow the vehicle anymore. It's a very nice touch and really a mark of a pro. Nice. Nice. Right there. Locked in. He's really got his quad dialed into the speed of the cars. There. Now the car slows down and you go to overshoot. That's the hardest thing about chasing cars with a quadcopter, because you've got a speed that you want to be at based on your up tilt. Your quad wants to be going a certain speed based on your up tilt, and when the car especially when the car decelerates suddenly, because you can hit the throttle to accelerate, but when the car decelerates suddenly, you can't decelerate that fast. You're gonna overshoot, and it's very hard to make that look good. Like right here, boom, little pitch back and climb. It's very hard to make that look good. Nice there. Very nice. Very nice. I think I saw some beans. See, there you go. So he's going to overshoot. The car slows down and he's going to overshoot, so he flips over it. Very nice touch. Right? Right here. Boom. See there, he makes it look intentional. Very nice. Nice. Not sure what happened there. Nice. Very tight. Somebody should tell that guy his tires are smoking. There's another good breakaway here. And come back. Very nice. Oh, we got a little B-roll here. Could have used some of that a little earlier in the video. I guess that's my only... Yeah, like, he hits this shot, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, it's like this tension in my body has been released. And I didn't even know it was there, right? Right here. So here we got these shots where there's no cars and we're just flying and cruising and we're not doing flippy flops. That would... I wouldn't have noticed that until this moment when this shot hit. If anything, I would say that this video could use a little bit more tempo, change in tempo, change in dynamic, a little bit more dynamic range. There we go. Because like if you look at Johnny's video, like let's look at Johnny FPV. I'm going to compare Bubby to Johnny FPV. That can only be a compliment, right? But if we look at Johnny's video, and again, no music, sorry. How does it start? It's breathing, right? We got sky, right? We got the balloon. And we're moving slowly, right? And where the intensity is low here, right? We set the shot up. The intensity is low. Now the intensity is building, right? The energy is building. We can see the car. We're getting close to the car. And now we're in it. We're in it. We're going. Okay, let's keep watching, though. I know you've all seen this, right? The intensity is high here. We're tight. We're moving. The wheels are spinning. Now we've zoomed out. Now we're further away. And look, we're breathing now, aren't we? Now we're breathing. And we're back on the car. But no, we're not. Now we got a wide shot. We're breathing again. Think about the dynamics here in a musical term, loud versus soft. Now we're breathing again. Now we're going to come back and we're going to be back on the car, right? And that's something that's missing from Bubby's. Bubby, I'm only criticizing and saying this just because if I don't, then like we'll just sit here and just be like, good video, Bubby. You know, I have to do something to make myself feel like I'm contributing to the experience, because clearly it's not me flying the quad. That's the only thing I notice about this one. Your piloting is impeccable, piloting, just great piloting. So, you know, as you're going to try to be the next Johnny FPV, that's a direction to point. Wow, super close to the ground there. Is that slow? Oh, what? Was that a little juicy flick? Was that a little Johnny FPV flick worked in? A little wall flick? Holy crap. Ready? He does that move that you see Slat do it, where he kind of doesn't tap, but acts like he's tapped a wall and flicks off it. Right here. Right? Boom! Flick! Right there. Whoa, Johnny FPV somewhere. Very nice. My favorite. That's my favorite thing you did in the whole video. Very nice, Bubby. Very nice, Bubby. Exactly. Kyle K says, you have to comment on the video, otherwise it's just a reaction channel. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. 661 FPV. Look, obviously Johnny's video was, $1 million or whatever, and Bubby's was just him on his MacBook. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Doesn't mean we can't strive to achieve, right? It's pretty good, Bubby. You're going to be good someday. I tell you what, you keep it up, man. You're going to do all right. Yeah. All right. Thanks for sharing that, Bubby. That's a really good drift video, Bubby. I mean, I think that's something that guys like Johnny, Johnny is not just making freestyle content, right? And so when you think about making a video, you ask yourself, am I making a freestyle video? Like, what kind of content am I trying to make here? And at some point, the language that you use to tell that story expands, right? You start out by saying, I'm going to be the best FPV pilot I can. I'm going to get this awesome footage. And then eventually you cross over to say, I'm going to make this content. Yeah. And, yeah, then you end up where Johnny is, right? B-roll and establishing shots to me were one of the hardest things, and still are. I certainly would not say I'm excellent at it. Like, you see true filmmakers, and like they'll do a vlog. Like, look at Casey Neistat. Look at his like vlogs, and look at just go through a Casey Neistat vlog from back in the day, and just look at his B-roll, his establishing shots. It makes me think of in Rotorite Presents Bot Grinder, the Philly Corkscrew. I thought to myself, there's the scene where Zorro and Bot Grinder are, and again, I'm not going to use the audio because I don't want to get dinged. They're eating lunch, and there's some B-roll in here. Okay, so here we've got a shot as they walk in. Okay, now they have their dialogue, right? And in fact, it's better if we don't have the dialogue so you can pay attention to the shots. That's right, that's right. So here we have their scene. And then as we get away from their scene, there's some B-roll in between the two scenes. And I'm just like, I'm so impressed with the quality of the B-roll, the way it contributes to the story. And you see these guys, vloggers or filmmakers, everywhere they are, they're getting just gobs of B-roll that they then use to sprinkle throughout. And I was so focused on, like, I gotta fly, I gotta make my video, I gotta do my vlog, to then also be shooting B-roll. Here's your B-roll right here. What is that? It's just some freaking onions. What is that? It's just some onions. Right? There you go. Just like, how do we get out of that scene? Just some onions. You know who else is good at B-roll? Their B-roll is a little more generic because it's just freaking... What the hell? What am I looking at? Their B-roll is just like making coffee, so it's a little more generic. But I'm super impressed with that. Yeah. Anyway. It's hard. It's really hard. Okay. The real way you get B-roll is you have a second unit, right? You have a second unit, a B cam, and they get all the B-roll while A cam is working with the, getting the main stuff. So. June Loco 619, thank you for a $2 super chat. I bound the Nano RX. It keeps saying reload Crossfire firmware. June Loco, you need to reflash your Tango 2, or you need to reflash your Tango 2. It's not your receiver firmware that's messed up. It's your radio. Reflash the Crossfire module on your radio, not the Freedom TX, the Crossfire. Okay. Just some onions. How is that B-roll? It's just some onions on a grill. Yet somehow. Yeah. Dan Z, thank you for a $5 super chat. Does custom motor mixing make much of a difference? By the way, Dan, I saw you ask what happened to your super chat. Nothing. Sometimes I work from front to back, Dan. That's all. That reminds me. I haven't seen Night Chat, Nightbot. I haven't seen Nightbot lately. I think Nightbot got disconnected from my account. There's supposed to be a... Join channel. My channel got disconnected from Nightbot somehow. Well, how about that? Nightbot's supposed to be here. No, Nightbot is important. He answers questions like why I haven't answered your super chat yet. Oh, you guys don't like Nightbot. Damn. What happened to Nightbot? Nightbot needs to be a moderator. Yeah, get in here, Nightbot. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, there we go. We're joined now. Come on in, Nightbot. He's coming back. He's important. I only just noticed it's been gone. Does custom motor mixing make much of a difference nowadays? Asks Dan, for example, on the Dead Cat 7-inch. Dan, anytime you have non-symmetrical motor layout, custom motor mixing can make some difference. On a Dead Cat, it might help a little bit, especially on a bigger Dead Cat. But most of the time, most people don't use custom motor mixes and just let the PID controller sort it out, and the PID controller usually does a pretty good job. So that's the answer. We'll see if Nightbot comes back. All right. In case you missed this yesterday on the live stream, I want to take a second and let you know that the Golden Gate International Film Festival, has accepted the Flow State FPV drone documentary. And this is important because they are going to be streaming all of the films in the festival. And that means that this is your first opportunity as the general public to be able to buy a ticket and see Flow State if you've been wanting to see that. So the website is goldengateinternationalfilmfestival.com. And if you want to see Flow State, the FPV documentary, you can do that. What you're going to do is you're going to go to that website. You're going to click tickets. And you're going to buy a ticket. You could buy a 1-slot ticket if you just want to see our film, or you could buy, if you want to see the other films, sure, you could do that. Once you've purchased the ticket, in order to watch it, you can watch it as early as November 8th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And you can continue to watch it through the 14th. So anytime between November 8th at 6 p.m. Pacific time and November 14th. You do not have to watch it on that one time. And if you go to screenings, there's instructions. Click here to see instructions about how to watch the film. Okay? This is a big deal because, number one, it's just your first opportunity to see the film. People have been saying, when can we watch it? You can watch it. We're probably going to do some kind of a live event. I'll make an announcement about that later in the week. But, I mean, certainly I'm going to be streaming, right? And you can have my stream on in the background if you want, if you'd like to, maybe do some commentary. Then there's going to be a Q&A afterwards at, what time is it? At 8 p.m. Pacific time. There's going to be a Q&A with me and James Christensen. He's the director, and I'm the executive producer. So that's a big deal, and I certainly would love it if you guys would put the word out there. Number one, help get the word out. This is the first time Like people have been saying, what can we do to help the film be successful? And I've been saying, well, we're trying to do this and that, but this is the first time when your desire to see it and your desire to promote it actually might matter, because these are actual ticket sales numbers. And the sponsor, one of the sponsors of the festival is AMC Theaters, which, kind of relevant. Bobby Bags, if you don't want to watch it at 6 p.m. Pacific time, you can watch it anytime between November 8th and November 14th. So if you can't make the live one, that's fine. Can you watch more than once? I don't actually know the answer to that. I'm not sure if once you cash in your ticket, you can only watch it. Nathan Lanchbury, you pick your slot at the time that you go to view. So you buy your ticket, right? And then when you are ready to watch it, you click the screening button. Okay? Now, actually, it looks like it's saying here that you pick a slot when you purchase the ticket. I don't know. I haven't purchased my ticket yet. So. Yeah. Anyway. So check that out. Is Nightbot back? No, not back yet. Wrong Way FPV is confirming you pick your slot at purchase. So we are slot S, I believe. We are alone in our own slot, slot S. Yeah, so you need to buy for slot S. Super Deluxe, why would you be asking about screen capture software while we're talking about my film? Why would you have asked that? Anyway. Super Adjustable, thank you for a $10 super chat. I have a Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle. I can't connect to Betaflight on my MacBook. I have the right cable. Do you have the right cable? Are you sure about that? A lot of the USB cables that come with cell phones are charge only. They don't carry data. So that's a possibility. Make sure that you've absolutely got, go buy an Amazon Basics USB cable, which is actually a USB cable and not just a charging cable. The other thing is, on some MacBooks, I have heard of people having issues when they're using a hub instead of plugging directly into the MacBook. I don't know the answer to that. I don't have a MacBook, so. Also, when you install Betaflight, isn't there some permission thing you have to do? You have to hold down Shift and right-click Open or something to get it working. The truth is, I don't have a ton of experience with Macs, and so I'm not actually sure that I can super help you with that. Make sure it's not your cable. Yeah, that's what I would say. I thought the tickets to the film festival were for any slot. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Anyway. Oh. GemFan Hobby says, go into system preferences and allow install and access from unidentified sources. Yeah, but GemFan, I think he's saying he's already installed it. He just can't connect it. Thank you, Super Adjustable, for a $5 super chat. Sorry I couldn't be more helpful, man. All righty. Looking back for questions to answer now. Hillscraper FPV says, I watched an old trailer for the movie. How much of it is about the regulation changes? They're out of a 2-hour movie. I would say there's probably 10 to 15 minutes about remote ID and the protest. So there's a segment about the protest in Washington, and there's a segment about the threat of remote ID to the hobby, because we really wanted to get the word out that the hobby, was under threat and needed to be protected. But the whole film isn't about that. The film is, for the most part, just about how awesome FPV is and the different ways that FPV is awesome and the different people in FPV, some of the different awesome people in FPV. And the idea is, for me at least, like, why I can only speak for why I got involved in the film. I can't speak for James or anybody else who helped make it, but I had basically 2 goals. Number 1 was to just kind of like make a love letter to FPV that people could watch and appreciate and say, I was there, as time goes on, to take something and make something bigger than like a 10-minute YouTube video that would stand up in a way that a 10-minute YouTube video wouldn't, and that would have a breadth and scope and encompass a lot of what is in FPV. Obviously not all, but to encompass a lot of what was in FPV, so that the people who are in FPV could watch it and go and just sort of feel good and love it and come together around it. And that was number 1. And then number 2 was to be able to put something out into the world that people outside of FPV would be able to have that experience and go, what is this? This is cool. So those were my motivations in making the film, or in helping to make the film. So I hope, looking forward to you guys' opinion. Athix says, did you get the new Sharkbite 2 Race VTX? I ordered 2 of them today, Athix. I'm looking forward to trying them out. Am I going to the 2021 DRL Championships in Vegas in January? Probably not. I have another, I have something else in January that if I travel in January, that's what I'll be traveling to, and it will take precedence. What's your perfect freestyle frame? Well, Younglist, I have the Lumineer QAV-S JB edition, which I worked with Ryan Harrell and the guys over at Lumineer to tweak. Ryan Harrell is the original frame designer, and then I worked with him to sort of tweak the frame in a few ways to make it sort of my own. And that is, obviously there are a lot of great frames out there. I would never claim that this is like the best, but it's my favorite. In Flow State, is there a part dedicated to building? Asks Younglist FPV. So Younglist, we had a section about building in the film, but so originally the edit of the film was designed towards 3 40-minute episodes, with the thinking that if it gets picked up by Netflix, they may want an episodic format. So 3 40-minute episodes is 3 times 40 is 100, and 3 times 4 is 12. 120, no, that's not right. That would only be a 2-hour. That would only be a 2-hour edit. That can't be right. 3 times 4 is 120. That's 2 hours. Maybe it was 45 minutes. I don't know. It must have been longer than that. The original edit was something like 2.5 hours, 2 hours 20 maybe, and it was too long. It was too much to sit through. So we edited it. It was edited down to like a 2-hour edit, just about 120 minutes. And the build chapter is one of the things that I think got cut, because ultimately, we cut it down to 2 hours for a special showing that we did in Atlanta, and everybody coming was an FPV pilot. So we were like, these guys know how to build. They've seen a build video. I'm not sure if that edit will have changed for the festival, but and there's a lot in there about how these are not off the shelf and we build them ourselves. Like there's a section where Mr. Steele talks about his, you know, his workbench and the stuff he uses to build and how he builds. But I'm not sure that the build chapter actually is in the 2-hour edit. Yeah. 661 FPV says Ciati had a part about building, but it got cut because it's just him cursing a lot. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think, yeah. DJ Kelpie 2731 wants to know, if I ultimately want to go over to SharkBite, will I be disappointed with the SkyZone Sky 04L over the Sky 04X? The Sky 04L is fine. An LCOS screen is not as good looking as an OLED screen, in my opinion, but it's I'm not sure that the 04X is worth the like $100 premium. I don't think you'll be disappointed with the L. I think the L is a solid choice, especially for the price. Let's see here. Needs Morgan Freeman to commentate it. Yep. Do my Morgan Freeman impression. What about SharkBite with the Attitude V6? I mean, Tyler DD, the Attitude V6 specifically was released to go with SharkBite. So obviously they work together. I would take the SkyZone Sky 04L over the Attitude V6. The SkyZone goggle is just a more polished, like, it's just more polished and usable. However, if you're going SharkBite, you will need to come up with some kind of a custom adapter to hold the SharkBite module on the Sky 04L goggles. So that may be a downside for you. Whereas the Attitude V6 is made to work with the module. I Am Rudy wants to know, what BL Heli app do I need to modify ESC settings? Is it a BL Heli 32 or a BL Heli S ESC? I Am Rudy. That's the first question. They use different apps. Tyler DD said, if you have the Attitude V6 already, then, you know, don't stress about it. Don't buy the SkyZone today. Buy SharkBite and see if you're happy with the Attitude, you know? Oh, excuse me. I don't know what's going on here. Josh Robinson, thank you for a $5 super chat. If I'm using a 4S 18650 battery with DJI goggles, when will they shut down? I know you can bring them down to lower than a LiPo. I don't want to black out. The DJI goggles will let you run those all the way down. Like the DJI goggles work down to like 7 volts. And I don't think they have a low voltage shutoff. They'll run all the way down to like 5 or 6 volts. They won't work correctly, but they'll stay powered up. So, I mean, it'll start blinking at you when it gets below, I think, 3.5 volts per cell. I think you can turn that warning off, though. And then you can just run them down as much as you like. All right. Well, there you go. Mike Speedy FPV, thank you for 20 pounds. Would you build me your ultimate quad and how much would it cost? Ugh. Mike, I barely have time to keep my own quads running. So I would hesitate to take a commission to build my quad for somebody else. Yeah. But I'm sure there's people out there who would build it for you, although I'm guessing you probably would like me to personally build it. The thing is, like, I've needed to replace these motors for like a month. And I still have like 3 more broken quads over in the closet that I don't have time to work on. So, yeah, I probably would not like to take a commission from you to build it, just because it would take me forever. Or the amount of money I would want to do it just to make me drop everything else would be embarrassing. So, yeah, Abraham says, there's a price for everything. $100 million. Yeah, no, obviously, you know, there's a certain amount of money where I'd be like, okay, I guess I'm building you a quad today. But that's, you know, that's not what life's about. I think I would rather just not do it. No offense. Yeah. Mad Max FPV says it takes about an hour to build a quad. Yeah, good luck with that. I'm impressed if you can do it in an hour. Oh. All right. Mike Speedy FPV. If you're serious about that number, then you can contact me in private. I would drop for that amount of money. I would drop everything and build it, but that's too much money. I'm not sure I would feel good about it. I mean, Lord Almighty, man, you should, yeah. For that amount of money, you should just build your own, right? It's not that special, is it? Hey, Nightbot's back! Nightbot's back. Yay! Suck it! You guys who hated Nightbot. Suck it! Raven187, thank you for $2 Australian. Thoughts on the EU UK DJI V2 cam overheat lockout? Raven, I'm looking forward to getting my DJI Action 2 and testing and seeing how it works for me. You know, Mads Tech complained that it overheats. There are some people who are going to say that if it says it can shoot 4K but it overheats, then it can't shoot 4K, and that's misleading advertising. There are other people who are going to say that it works great for them. When I think about what I want out of the DJI Action 2, I want a 58-gram camera that I can put on my quad to get freestyle footage. And assuming that's the case, then the fact that it can't shoot 4K for 10 minutes without overheating does not affect me at all. Now, we'll have to see. Obviously, I don't have it yet. I think it's shipping out tomorrow. But if that was the case, if it can shoot 1080p or 2.7K for 20 minutes, I'm good. And if it can shoot 4K with airflow without overheating, I'm good. So I'll be really interested to see how the 32 gig capture works with 4K footage and how fast offload and how fast charging is. That's what I'm looking forward to see. John Doe, thank you for a $5 super chat. My SkyZone O2X goggles, sometimes one screen won't link. I have to power cycle it to get it to link right. They're almost new. You mean, John Doe, I would contact SkyZone support about that. It sounds like you have broken goggles. And since they're brand new, you should not be screwing around with them. If you get a brand new product out of the box and it's broken, contact the manufacturer immediately. And because people are like, well, how can I fix this? I mean, maybe you're going to end up having to fix it. That's just life sometime. But the first thing you should do is try to get them to fix it for you. Oh, yeah. Nightbot's back. That is kind of a lot. You know what? Maybe it's making up for lost time. Hang on. Let's see what we can do about this. Timers. What are the timers for this? It's on a 20-minute timer, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So that's one every 10 minutes on average. That's not a lot. One every 10 minutes is not a lot. I think what's happening is that Nightbot is doing them all at once instead of like staggering them. I don't know how you can make Nightbot stagger them. Yeah. Athix in the Discord wants to know, would you consider running SharkBite on a polarized antenna, or would a dipole is fine? Athix, I think that SharkBite uses polarized antennas. I think they're right-hand polarized. The built-in SharkBite antennas, I think, are right-hand polarized. So, yeah, you should use right-hand. Ghost Branch FPV says, it's almost 2022. I would not buy any action cam that won't shoot 4K 60 for at least 15 minutes. See, that's the perspective that I just don't share, but I realize that other people have that perspective, okay? Professional, like real pro camera people, video producers, they all shoot 4K or higher. And I just don't. All my videos are shot at 1080 because I need to transfer the footage across the internet to my editor, and 4K would take forever. So I shoot at 1080. They'd look better if I shot at 4K, probably, but I just don't. And for FPV, I think, well, maybe the 130 megabit per second bit rate of the DJI Action 2 would be enough. But if we look at the specs for like a Hero 8, GoPro Hero 8 is the last camera that I personally checked this on. So maybe Hero 9 is different. But if we look at the bit rate specs for the GoPro Hero 8, so 4K 60, 100 megabits per second. 4K 30, 100 megabits per second. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. So which of these is going to look better? 4K 60 is effectively half the bit rate per frame of 4K 30. All right. 2.7K. 2.7K 60, 100 megabits per second. 2.7K 30, 100 megabits per second. So let me think about it. Think about it. Which is going to look better? 4K at 100 megabits per second or 2.7K at 100 megabits per second? The answer to that question is whether you have a lot of fast movement. If you have not a lot of fast movement in your scene, then the bit rate is going to be adequate and the additional resolution is going to make your image look better. But if you have a lot of fast movement in the scene, I submit you would rather have 2.7K at 100 megabits per second than 4K at 100 megabits per second. Because you get more bit rate per pixel at 2.7K. And so that's why I feel like for a Hero 8, for FPV, there is no benefit to shooting in 4K. In fact, I feel like based on my, obviously, you know, like my testing is not exhaustive, but I did a little bit of testing because I was just like, hey, I'm curious. I felt like 4K on a GoPro Hero 8 FPV footage looked worse than 2.7K. I upload all my FPV footage in 2.7K and shoot in 2.7K, not 4K. Now, what about the Hero 10? Does Hero 10 do any better? Ghost Branch, I would love. I mean, I'm being a little confrontational, Ghost Branch. But if you have a different perspective, I would love to. I respect your opinion, so I would love to. You know, if I've got this wrong somehow, I would love to know. And if anybody I'll listen to, it's Ghost Branch, whose opinion I really respect. Hero 9 black and Hero 10 black. 5120, so 5K, 100 megabits per second. Hero 10 black, 5K, 100 megabits per second. 4K, 100 megabits per second. 2.7K, 100 megabits per second. 1920 by 1080. Where's the bit rate? Where's the bit rate? Doesn't show the bit rate. Really? Why? Oh well. So that's my take. Ghost Branch, you say the Hero 9 and 10 is different. Your Ghost Branch points out that it's different if you're shooting H.265. Yeah, H.265 will make a difference. If you're shooting 1080 and H.264 and does 2.7K H.265. Oh, you have the choice though. You can shoot them all in H.265. On at least the 9 and the 10, all of these resolutions can be shot in H.265. So that's no issue there. I mean, I submit that if the codec is the same, the resolution is higher, but the bit rate is the same, then for fast motion you're going to get worse results. That makes sense to me. If the 9 and the 10 are different, I'd like to know what's different about them that makes them different. So anyway, now Mad Max FPV has a great point. I upload to YouTube in 4K because YouTube re-encodes everything, and if you upload in 1080, then you get worse results. So like my videos that you watch, not my freestyle videos, I shoot them at 1080, I edit them at 1080, and I export them at 4K and upload them at 4K. And I didn't used to do that, and Fabio, my editor, said he had done some tests and done some uploads, and he showed me that the 4K looked better on YouTube. So for whatever reason, 4K, YouTube likes it better and gives it better results. So. Epicness wants to know, why do a lot of forums tell me that my DX9 isn't very good for multi-rotors? Epicness, it is largely a cultural thing. Spectrum radios didn't really take off in FPV culture for whatever reason. I mean, I'm not going to dive into the reasons. I think a lot of it is historical and cultural. I think the big reason, here's the big reason. This is my take on it. And, take it or leave it. Spectrum radios are high quality and expensive. Way back in the day, if you wanted to fly an RC plane, you were going to build it out of balsa wood. It was going to be expensive, time consuming. And so you wanted to spend a few hundreds of dollars on a radio so when you didn't crash your big, expensive, precious plane. And then along came foam planes. And those jerks at flight test, Josh Bixler, that son of a bitch ruined RC culture. Because now no longer did you have to build a balsa wood plane with a freaking, with that, whatever that stuff is they put on the outside that they heat shrink. Yeah, that stuff. No, now you could just get a cast foam plane and you could crash it and you could glue it back together with Gorilla Glue or hot glue. Nobody cared. And when you're flying a $100 beater plane and you're the poor people are in RC now. And all those old guys with their expensive Jetty radios and Spectrum radios and their big expensive planes look down at the plebs coming out of the field with their foam planes. Oh no, this copy's really going to hell. This is a dramatization. Should not be taken as literal fact. And all those poor people who got into the hobby with those foam planes, like the Bixler, which was my very first plane. Thank you, Josh Bixler. Thank you, Flight Test. My very first RC plane was a Bixler, a foam plane. They didn't want to spend $700 on a freaking Spectrum radio when they were spending $100, $150 on their plane. And then along came cheap Chinese radios like the Tyrannus X9 9X. Yeah. And they cost $100. And so Spectrum radios were just priced themselves out of the FPV market because the FPV market came from sort of the same place. Cheap, inexpensive beater quads. So, and Spectrum, I had a conversation once with someone from Spectrum, and I said, look, if you want to get, and this guy, he worked at Spectrum, and he was an FPV hobbyist and was a fan of FPV, and he wanted to see Spectrum more. He was like, what can we do? What do we need to do? And I said, you're too expensive. No matter how good your radio is, whether it's worth the price, most people in FPV aren't going to spend $500, $600, whatever the price was, on a DX9. He's like, yeah, we've released the DXE. And I'm like, yeah, You need a radio that runs OpenTX, and it needs to cost $200. That's what you need to do. And they won't do it because their whole business model is built around this old thought process of a cheap radio has 4 channels. A mid-tier radio has 6 channels, 8 channels, 9 channels. And by the time you get to 14 channels, you're spending like $1,000. And that's their stratification because that's how radios used to be. And that's what their customers expect. And if they were to sell a 16-channel radio for $200, all of the guys who spend $1,000 on a 14-channel or a 12-channel DX whatever would be like, "What, Spectrum? What are you doing?" And they would lose their whole business model. That was my take on the conversation. That it would just never happen. That Spectrum would never release a radio that actually was for FPV pilots because, number one, they don't release cheap crap. And a lot of FPV pilots would rather buy cheap crap than expensive stuff that's good. And Spectrum just has a certain quality bar that they won't go below. Good for them. But then also, they can't upset their current customer base by releasing something that FPV pilot, because FPV pilots are like, whatever, give me 16 channels and 16 channels. However did you accomplish that? I can't imagine why you did that for under $1,000. What a thing. You know, we're just not indoctrinated into that marketing. Anyway, that's why Spectrum never took off, in my opinion. And then Spectrum receivers, Spectrum receivers were the first high-speed serial receiver. When we were all running frickin' PPM, when we were all running CPPM with terrible latency, pilots using Spectrum had lower latency, and it was a big deal. But Spectrum never really made micro-sized receivers for MIDI quads. They made receivers for servos and planes. And then there was like one satellite receiver you could buy, but it had terribly tiny antennas with terrible range. So they just never focused on this market and made a product that we want. And that's it. License to Drive says they priced themselves into a corner. I agree. Got a few more super chats to get out of the way before we finish up the stream. Kenny Kobe, thanks for a $5 super chat. John Doe, thanks for a $5 super chat. I lost my new DJI Naze 5 on its maiden. My brother found it yesterday. The quad and the GoPro work perfect. Survived 2 months in the rain. Nice. Nice. Amazing that the quad still works after 2 months in the rain. Kevin Sumner, thank you for a $10 super chat. I've got a CL Racing AIO V3. It doesn't have a buzzer pad, but I'd like to put a V-Fly mini buzzer on it. What pad on the AIO could be repurposed? The LED strip pad almost certainly will work. You can almost always remap the LED strip pad. Of course, you got to give up LEDs, but. Scott Steely says, Josh, did you have any issues putting the Vista camera in your perfect freestyle build? I really had to push in, and it's bowing the carbon fiber. Yeah, so the Vista camera is like 21.5 millimeters wide. Standard micro camera is 19 millimeters. You just squeeze the carbon in. It's fine. It's just fine. It doesn't matter. The difference was we had to choose between either making a standard camera loose or the DJI camera tight. And it's easier to just squeeze this a little bit than the alternative. So yeah, just squeeze the top in slightly. It bows out slightly. It's not a big deal. It's just totally not a big deal. It's fine. I am Rudy. You should always use U-Blocks over NMEA for your GPS. Always use U-Blocks. NMEA is just a fallback option if the GPS doesn't support it, but modern GPSs all support U-Blocks. Always use U-Blocks. The big thing that U-Blocks has is auto configuration. If you're using U-Blocks, the flight controller can tell the GPS, here's the baud rate I want you to use. It can auto configure the GPS. And Betaflight and iNav both do this. I didn't know this until recently. Pavel Spikowski told me about it. I was like, oh, maybe we need to go into U-Center and configure our GPSs for best performance. It turns out that the flight controller already does that through the U-Blocks protocol. So always use U-Blocks over NMEA. Oh my God. What the hell? We've come up on 10 o'clock, and I have not plugged Aaron Ciotti's stream. Aaron Ciotti, Ciotti FPV is in the chat. He's posting a link to his stream. He is going to be streaming at 10 p.m. in just a minute. He's installing an ESC on the FPV Cycle Cinesplorer. I got to get a couple more super chats. One more super chat from Jake H. What's the Cinewhoop to get right now? Looking for something with a DJI camera and to film with a GoPro 9. I want 7 to 10 minute flight times. Jake H, the Cinewhoop that I think people are recommending, like pros, is either the Terraplane. If you're going to carry a GoPro 9 or 10, the Terraplane from Shendrones. Or what's the FPV Cycle one? Ciotti likes the FPV Cycle one. The Cinesplorer from FPV Cycle. Those are two that you should look at. And that is gonna do it for the stream. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Cinesplorer. Yeah, that's right. That's what I said. Thank you guys so much for coming out. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the news. And Gregory Hurst, any advice for multi-GP champs? I'm heading there on Wednesday. Don't change your setup, Gregory. Do not. Oh, I'd like to try a new controller, new motors, new receiver, new camera. Don't change your setup. Take what you've been practicing on and just take it in and do your best. There you go. Alrighty, guys. Good night, everybody. Happy flying. Have a great stream, Ciotti.